Our first speaker has joined.
Hello.
Hello, hi. Thank you
How are
for
you?
joining. I'm good. How are you today?
I'm well, thank you.
Great. You can hear me fine today?
Yes.
Perfect. So I also invited Naeem, so he should join us shortly. Yeah, he's been invited.
Wonderful.
Great. So thank you so much for doing this live with us. We're so excited to have you here and listen to your thoughts about the topic on hand, which, as you know, is calibrating connections in the art world. And so we have basically how this is going to flow is we have a series of questions for you and Naeem, and we'll let you take them individually. And then later there'll be questions for both of you. So that's pretty much it. And if the audience has any questions, they can ping them in at the end and we'll address them then. So I'm just trying to make sure Naeem can join.
Well, thank you for having me. I think it's a pleasure for me to be on this forum and talking to you and hopefully a bunch of other people regarding what we're doing and what we try and do, etc., etc. So let's wait for Naeem to join us and let's see how it goes.
Sure. Cool. I have just, I think he was unable to join a few seconds ago, but he should join in now. To everybody who just joined the live, we're waiting for one more of our speakers to join. We have Omer Nabi already here, but RM9 is just joining us, and then we will start off. The topic for the evening is calibrating connections in the art world.
Should I try and call Naeem and see if he's what's going on?
Yeah, sure.
Just hang in there one moment.
No worries. He isn't able to join is the notification that I'm getting. Okay. Hi, everybody who just joined. Sorry for the delay. We're just waiting for one of our speakers to join, and then we'll start off right away. So just a couple of minutes. Omer's just gone to call Naeem, so we'll see if they both can join us back. This Insta Live thing is a little tricky. I don't know why.
Hello, I'm so sorry. A little late.
No worries. We haven't. Omer, I think, left to make sure you could join. So, hello, everybody. Great. This is Naeem. He's here. And so we will just get Omer back. All right. So welcome, Naeem. Welcome to our live today. Happy to have you here. Great.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot. Oh, great. Both of our speakers are here. So welcome to you both, and welcome to the audience as well. We have about 53 people tuning in. So this is Sahana from TUS, and today we'll be talking about calibrating connections in the art world. And we have with us RM Naeem, an esteemed artist and art educator from Pakistan, and Omer Nabi, who's a gallerist, designer, curator, and founder of TheUpsideSpace Gallery, also from Pakistan. And today what we will be talking about is connection in the art world, but from an overarching perspective. I would like to kind of give the floor to both the speakers to talk a little bit more about themselves and what they do as artist and curator, respectively. Naeem, if you could start us off.
In fact, I'm a painter and I teach at National College of Arts, and I'm teaching there since almost 30 years now. And I have my own studio where I offer art counseling program and different programs, art counseling programs and mentoring programs to bring change in Pakistan and overall the world, what we can do through art and how we can bring change through art. This is what we are doing.
Omer, and a little bit about you for the audience who isn't familiar with
it. I'm essentially an interior designer and an art gallerist. And I occasionally dabble in curation. That's not my forte generally, but for this particular situation, we decided that I should curate this show because of the global situation. We just felt that we have to curate a show which sort of brings us together rather than forces us apart. So, yeah, I've been a designer for about 25, 30 years now. And so I was also a collector of art. And I felt that there was a need for a good gallery in Lahore because Lahore produces the bulk of the art in Pakistan. And so when I built my flagship store about 7 years ago, I decided to set up a specific art gallery space. And really happy that I did that. And a lot of artists in Pakistan are also really happy that I did that.
Yeah, it's been a huge addition to the art community in Pakistan. And also, they will be curating an NFT exhibition for us very shortly. So keep on the lookout for that. So, but coming back to our topic of the evening, calibrating connections in the art world, I'd like to elaborate a little bit on what that means. So connection is, we want to kind of focus on the word connect and look at a play of it on different levels. It can be anything from the artist building a connection from his experiences and emotions to making the work, but it can also be how the audience connects with the art, but also about how artists connect with the audience. From a curator perspective, it can be about how the curator enables the audience to easily connect with the art, but it also can be like from a very straight line perspective, it can also be about how an artist can build connections in the art world to further his career. So we'll be looking at the word connection from a couple of different perspectives. We'll be hearing from Naeem and Omer on both of these things. So actually, my first question is directed to Naeem. So Naeem, in the studio, as an artist, how do you build a connection between your experiences, emotions, thought processes, and translate that into a work of art? Because these feelings tend to be deeply personal. So how does that communicate or translate to a work of art that can reach to a viewer?
I think personally, the way I work, I spend maximum time with the idea and I develop this and I start living with that idea. And I can't do anything beyond that idea. So that idea forces me to do something according to that idea. And the mediums are secondary and everything is secondary. And I strongly believe if your work doesn't connect with people, so it means that I'm doing nothing. It should connect on certain level, emotional or rational or whatever level, but it should bring change and do something in society. So I always focus on this through my art.
Right. So you're saying idea is the core for you. It doesn't matter which medium you choose to convey it with. Afterwards.
If I convey it, I'm wasting my time because I strongly believe we can bring change through art because we are creative people and this is a basic responsibility to bring change, a positive change in societies. And artists can, find out the right ways and creative ways to bring people together and bring change. And we can, if we will be working together, we can create a better world.
Yeah, we definitely can. But coming back to what you said about how the audience interprets the work and understanding the story that you want to say, do you sometimes make work that leave the interpretation of the meaning to the viewer, or do you always try and connect with the audience with your work using a story or whatever it is you want to convey? And if it's the latter case, would you consider it an unsuccessful work if it could not connect with the audience in the way you meant it to?
I think art is definitely, I leave some traces. I leave some parts. Sometimes like my title is the main thing to connect with my work if I talk about audience. So my title plays that role, and sometimes I leave some narratives on the surface to connect with. Generally, my work is around, my own opinion, my own questions. I just try to find the answers of my own questions. And as far as the interpretation is concerned, I always leave this up to the viewer. And I prefer that. Whatever I'm saying, that becomes secondary sometimes. Because the basic idea of my art is to create that curiosity in public. If, the art can create this element if people start thinking. So definitely, if you have started thinking, the change is there then. And the second part of your question was, what was that?
If you make a work of art and then it doesn't connect with the audience the way you meant it to, or it doesn't convey the story that you wanted to say, would you consider it unsuccessful in that sense?
No, I think it's like poetry.
Right.
You know, when I'm writing something, I'm in a different phase. When you are
Right.
reading the same poetry, you're in a different phase. So it depends
how
you're receiving it and what your knowledge is about. You know, so that is really important.
True. And as you do say, the audience comes up with their own. Sorry, go. You want?
Yeah, some people believe that the visual should be the translation or interpretation of the word. So I don't believe in that, because the visual art itself is a complete language. This is not the substitute of word. So you have to understand that language, and accordingly you expect things from that medium.
True. Visual art is a expansive language, I think, and it's always interesting to see what the audience can make of your work, or what kind of questions it provokes in them. So that's always a huge interaction, I think, when it comes between the art and the audience. But what you were saying?
Yeah, I always go to my shows because of my viewers, because I personally think without my viewer, my work is not complete.
Right.
Because what
Absolutely.
I want to see, the reaction completes the work.
It really does. Yeah. It's like putting your work out into the world is a huge part of making the work, if you would say that's correct. Yeah. Omer, so my next question is actually for you from a curator perspective. How do you as a curator build a connection with the art and the larger world? Or how do you work with artists to ensure that their art remains accessible to an audience?
Well, as Naeem was just mentioning, art is visual language. It defies linguistic barriers and brings forward issues in a visual ways. So I may not be able to speak French, but a Frenchman and myself can both be looking at the same piece of art and react in very similar ways, right? Or very different ways, also depending on our perspectives. These visual experiences, they often inculcate emotional responses, which sometimes the written word doesn't, it becomes important for an artist as well as a curator to weigh these things and comment. I think art is oftentimes social commentary, religious commentary, political commentary, and sometimes it's just pure fun. So, it's important for the curator to select an interesting a topic which has some global relevance, a topic which people are talking about. It's all about the current situation in contemporary art. So, it's issues that are being discussed. It's things that are pertinent for the time. So it's important for curators sometimes to select art, a concept, come up with a curatorial note that is relevant. And then it becomes incumbent upon that person, the curator, to either two things. One is to either select artists who already have been working on that kind of concept, or to provoke a challenge to the artist that they could initiate some kind of an experience or sort of a visual translation of that concept by whichever method they choose to. So I think a curator definitely helps in that communication, but the curator is nobody without the artist and the audience. So because audience can respond. I mean, the curatorial note certainly helps, but audience can respond and relate to works in different ways, and to each his own, and you can't really control that.
So a curator helps in setting the context in the sense of the larger world, right? They give direction, certainly. Yeah, and I think just that's also what we're trying to do in terms of making the Upside Space curator-centric. Letting curators tell their stories, but through NFTs. which is which you'll see soon in Omer's exhibition that's upcoming.
I'm really looking
but just
forward
as
to it.
yeah, we too. We think you have a fantastic show, so we're really looking forward to it. Yeah. But just as a follow-up question to that, do you think a curator sometimes can act as a barrier between the audience connecting with the work, or do you think they can act as an enabler? And if
Wonderful.
so,
On the contrary, I would say that certainly enabler. Certainly, I think a curator acts as a bridge.
mm,
You know, basically, sometimes artists are very fixed in their ways,
right.
right? In their art practice, they are secure in a certain type of art practice, and they don't want to break out of that. And oftentimes, a curator helps the artist to think out of the box. The
Right.
curator's role is not to guide the artist, but only to nudge the artist. Say, hey, I mean, for example, if you have a painter who is very theatrical, can you hear me?
For a second, but I'm back. So you were saying
Okay.
the curator's
So
role is not to guide the artist? Yeah. Yeah.
No, only to nudge the artist.
Right.
Because I feel that, I was sort of giving an example that what if, I mean, let's say there's an artist who's very theatrical in his or her paintings, and the curator can sort of nudge him or her to sort of explore the avenue of what you call performance art and actually be
Right.
theatrical. Recently at my gallery, we had a veteran artist who's known for her sculpture and reliefs. And she did a show of drawings. At the end of the day, every artist starting point is drawing, right? So
Right.
and one could see the commonality between her reliefs, the energy that was flowing in those drawings. One could have felt in her reliefs before. And this was her first drawing show, and she's like 65 plus. And so sometimes these curatorial efforts nudge the artist. Obviously, the artist is king in all of this, right? So the artist has to do their own work. So I think the curator definitely creates a bridge between the artist and the viewers, which helps connect the audience to the work in a sense. So in a sense, the curator is really helping both the audience as well as the artist. But I must also mention that the curator is not, let's say, God forbid, God personified. Rather, curator is actually nothing without the artist. So the curator is only trying to present the artist or bring or build that connection between the artist and the audience in a way that it becomes a little more clear.
Definitely. As we've seen, a curatorial concept can be the bone or like the undercurrent of a show, and it can really set the tone to all the works that has been presented there. But as you speak of building bridges, I actually want to go to my next question, which is still for you, Omer. But if we talk about artists building connections in the art world and building bridges, we can say to a sense it's all about who you know in the art world. It's all about which shows you're part of, or which galleries you're part of, or who owns your work, what collections you're part of. So in a world where it is all about who you know, how do you think artists can make connections with those key players to take their careers to the next level? Or why do you think some artists are more successful at this than other artists?
At the end of the day, artists are human beings, and each person has a different personality. There are some people who are really plugged in the whole sort of social circuit, and there are others who are not. Now, how an art, I mean, it's definitely true that an artist who's more plugged in or is definitely more successful, so to speak, financially, at least in the global scenario. But, honestly, I really feel that personally, I mean, an artist's job is to create. Is to create things, create work. He should be involved in the creative process rather than being worried about, how to promote him or herself, et cetera, et cetera. But that said, as we both agree that, networking is extremely important. And as a gallerist, and an artist that a gallery represents, our incomes are tied in. I mean, this is a commercial space. We all have to, pay our bills. So our incomes are tied in. So we have to make a collective effort. So if an artist is a bit of an introvert, or if an artist is shy or is not interested in doing that part of the business, it is incumbent upon us gallerists to do that for them. It's very important for us to promote the artist, to make the artist king, you know. So we do this in so many ways. I mean, now social media is very helpful. We use print media, publications, have their works placed in important collections, as you mentioned. That's extremely important because at the end of the day, many collectors look up to serious collections to decide if to eventually get connected to that artist or connected to the work of that artist because they respect the formidable collections. Whoever is collecting, they respect their thinking, and they feel that they know a little more about art. And so there's a lot of sort of copycat buying, if we may call it that.
Yeah.
And which is great. I mean, and we as gallerists, it's very important for us to make sure or to promote artists by placing them in museums or attempting to place them in museums, introducing them, constantly increasing the collector base, making sure that artists get placed in residencies, international residencies, whereby they can exchange ideas with other artists of other countries and cultures. Mentoring programs, like recently we had a mentoring program with Studio RM because Studio RM already does that. So we placed a couple of people with them so that, so we have to promote the artist at at any given moment possible, because we have to, it's our job to do that. And yes, we benefit from artists who are plugged in and who are already very well networked. The gallery also benefits. And the artist benefits from promoting artists who are introverts or who are not interested in doing that kind of stuff, right? So it is extremely important, using all these ways and methods that I just mentioned, to promote the artist, because, an artist is only as good as people know his work or her work, right? I mean, if an artist's work, in sort of my part of the world, they say, Jungle mein mor nacha kisne dekha, translates to the peacock dances in the forest, who saw, right? So unless we expose our artists to a larger audience, they will never be as well known or etc. They will never get to that relevance in the art world.
Right. So that also gives us a sneak peek into how much work galleries actually put into promoting the artists and artist work, which is another side that we don't get to see as often. But I was also interested in kind of understanding, just as a segue, how can an artist approach you as a gallerist, so that you can sort of take charge on all of these things?
Well, it's really very straightforward. We have an email address. We have a website. They just need to give a shout out and send their portfolio. And so we have a board of governors. I always run things through the board of governors, and we decide. We encourage young artists annually. We have 2 or 3 shows every year, which are bound for just artists who've just come out of school. So, because that's the only way they get promoted, they get recognized, they get seen. And so we are constantly trying an effort not only to encourage young artists, and of course we show the emerging and senior artists as well, but we have a specific slot, or rather slots, to encourage young talent.
So the answer to that could be for young artists to just put themselves out there and put their work out there, right?
Yeah. It's really that simple. Yeah.
Simple. Thank you for that answer, Omer. That was pretty thorough. Naeem, I kind of have a similar question for you, and I think this would be the last question from my side before the audience chimes in. But as an artist and an art educator, how do you think artists can use the tools of today, like technology, and build connections and develop a larger audience for their work?
I think for me, the connection is really, really important, but I would prefer rather connecting with the curator or gallerist or anybody who's buying art. I would rather prefer to connect with the intellectuals, with the teachers, with the people who can, develop their lives and help them to grow their ideas. That is very important for them, because most of the artists, they misunderstand this. They always go for curator. They're looking for curator instead of, working and developing themselves and finding those people who can help them to develop. So they waste time. I think Omer answered really well. It's not their job to connect. Their job is to create and involve themselves in that creative process. Because most of the time I've seen a lot of people, they lose that kind of thing because of this. So it's better, like, there are a lot of people who are working on this, and even this guy is also hiring curator and different people to educate them and mentor them. And as far as the connection, the relationship is concerned, that is already there. Everybody have their Facebook and Twitter and all these guys. But I personally feel you can create your admirers there, but you're not supposed to sell on those areas. You need expert people who can place you at the right places. So for those, I think galleries and curators are very important. So I would recommend all the young artists that instead of just connecting with them to sell their work, that's not the right way. They should find the right people to represent themselves.
Yeah, it's very key advice, I think, that you don't hear as often, especially in like a social media forward world. But that also sort of...
Sorry, what we are doing in our mentoring program, what Omer just mentioned, so the people, they have potential and they are wasting their life in the jobs. So what we do, we offer this program to all those guys who have potential and somehow they're disconnected with those people who can bring change in their lives. So every week we are inviting one artist, senior artist. They're coming there and talking to them on one-to-one level. And I see major change in them, the way they are talking, the way they have started doing their work. So I think it plays a major role, and we all should, take some time for the youngsters. If you know something really well and you...
Right. Yeah, we can hear you, Naeem. We kind of lost you there, but I think we got you said. Yeah. But it's very important for like the next generation of artists to sort of pass on what they've learned, I think, to the current generation. That's very key. Another thing that I do want to add is, you were saying?
Because we have connection, we can create that bridge. Sometimes they feel shy. They don't call them, they don't, connect with them. So it's important.
Yes, the intimidation factor will always be there. But there's also this other thing. There's a whole new market out there. There's a whole new space of the NFTs to play with. So I think what we're kind of trying to do, as you both have seen by working with us over the past few months, is trying to make the world of NFTs and art more accessible to artists who aren't so familiar with the technology, or if they have a language barrier. But all that will be revealed when we finally when we launch our exhibition. So we're excited for that. But there are different ways to go about it, as we have seen. So just to conclude from our ends, there are different ways of looking at the word connection in the art world, and I think in today's discussion we have covered most of them. I would also like to leave the space for Naeem and Omer if they have anything to say, just a closing statement or...
I really love the idea of this show, actually. This is bringing the world together, and this NFT idea is first time something is happening in favor of artists, actually. If he or she sells something again and again, so at least they will be getting some royalty. So I think you can't produce the whole life, so your work, so it is important. They should get something from the investment. So first time they're getting something from the intellectual effort.
True. That is a very unique space of the NFT world. I'm looking forward to that. But at the same time, now that we have everybody in the audience here, if you have any questions for Naeem and Omer, please shoot. Just put it in the audience comments, and then they will take it right now. We will wait a couple of minutes.
This NFT space is a new space, so it's very exciting. I mean, it's a relatively new space, so it's very exciting. It's a bit challenging also. It's a bit daunting also, but that comes with the excitement of anything new, I suppose.
True. Oh, so there is a question by Tanya. So she says, how do artists break the barriers of art groups that exist and not necessarily a friendly existing school of thoughts? So I think she means like cliques and art groups. So,
yes. It's a weird predicament to be in, but I think the easiest way forward is not to be part of any clique. Just be good to everybody.
Right.
Simple. If you're good to everybody, everybody will appreciate you. They may not want you to be close to another clique, but I think that can be avoided if well managed.
So I hope that answers your question, Tanya.
Naeem, you have to add to that?
You want to add to that, Naeem? Yeah.
If you're good, people are looking for good artists. So simply, if you're good, I think that's enough. You can create positive energy and people can also come to you. They can connect with you.
Right. So we also have a couple more questions. We'll get to them. We have somebody from 0v70. His question is, how can non-art audiences understand the world of art and its curation better? From a non-art audience perspective.
I think it's just really important for them to visit different galleries regularly, and they will gradually grow their taste and they will gradually start understanding the art. So I think you have to be the space and you have to interact with the people. So you will gradually learn everything. If you're going like once in a year, so that doesn't work.
Right, because galleries have many shows in a year.
I also feel the same. I mean, it's all about exposure and connection. Speak to the artist, speak to the curator, speak to the gallerist, talk to them about the work. If anything is visually appealing to you, you might want to go dig a little deeper and try and figure out what it's all about, It's about interest at the end of the day. So if somebody is not interested in art, then, we are constantly trying to struggle to get more and more people interested in art. But at the end of the day, it's all about interest. So if a non-art person wants to connect with art, expose yourself more. It's really that simple.
Yeah, that's a great answer. I agree. And there are all these festivals and biennales in India now that one person, they can go and visit and expose themselves to more art. And we have another question. When galleries refuse your work, how should that be taken from an artist? So I think how to assess rejection, maybe.
Okay, so this is a question I think I should answer. It is a tough call. At the end of the day, a gallery can't show everybody's work. They also have limited space. They've tied down to shows, etc., etc. So I personally hate it, and I have to do it all the time. I personally hate making that rejection call because essentially, I mean, it's not my personal decision; it's my board's decision. And so I sort of try and communicate it very nicely that maybe, ours is a certain type of gallery, we show a certain type of work. And at the end of the day, there's good work and there's much better work. So you're always looking for the much better work, And so yes, it's. I don't think you should take it to heart. I think you should approach some other gallery who might be interested in showing your work. But all galleries have different angles. They represent different types of art, and so it's important for artists to say, okay, all right, if my art didn't connect with this gallery, there's 50 others. It's going to connect with some other gallery. So I don't think it should be taken to heart.
I would like to also answer this when students, they come and they ask the same question to us. So I always say to them, that might be not the right place for you. First, you have to understand that your work, the kind of work you are doing, the gallery is representing that kind of work or not. If not, it means you're not rejected from there. Your work was not falling in that category. And there are a lot of galleries, like as Omer said, I think 70-80% young artists Omer is showing every year. And they always, whenever sometimes the show cancelled, so he calls me that if you have any potential artists, just recommend me, suggest me. So we call friends that if you have any artist who is doing really good, suggest his or her name. So I think galleries are after good artists. So rejection is not the right word for them to accept it like as they're rejected. They're not rejected. They're not at the right place actually.
Right. I think that's a good way to look at it, because it is a process. I think it takes years before you find a gallery for yourself. But I think we have time for one more question. Do galleries in Pakistan do Zoom studio visits? I think they mean artists in Pakistan do Zoom studio visits. Is that a practice that's followed?
Well, during COVID, occasionally, but not otherwise, no.
And that's a private place. Mostly, they don't want to show their private places to everybody.
Of course. So yeah, I think that's mostly from maybe for persons who are not in Pakistan, but they want to follow Oh, we have a lot of questions. Maybe we can take a few of them. Let me just pull them up. Sorry. I just realized. Just a second. We'll take a few more questions. There's a lot of them. What creative value do you think NFTs add to the world of art? This is an interesting question, I think, given the context.
Naeem, would you like to answer that?
No, that's a very difficult question to answer. Only you can.
So perhaps, Sahana, you can answer that.
All right. I actually, I have a decent answer for this. But I think when most artists look at NFTs, they immediately see a marketplace, which is the first iteration of what the NFTs was. But NFT can also be a medium. There are a few artists in the space who are sort of playing with so the way you can mint an NFT and the way that with each subsequent sale, you can make changes to the work. So in that way, the work develops. I think a few interesting artists in the space who are making this they're using the NFT itself, NFT space as a medium instead of a marketplace. And you can look at Dot Pigeon's work. And so what he did was he released a painting, a digital painting, and then each subsequent buyer received a more developed version of that painting. And then the 7th subsequent buyer would receive the physical version of the painting. And that was just a simple application of, I think, creatively using the way NFT sales works. And there was also this other artist, NFN Kalyan, who sort of made this huge, he's a huge oil painting. He broke it up into 100 different parts and sent it to refugees from a certain country. And then they used the digital software that was on the blockchain to fill in each of these squares and sent the painting back. So I think each unit was sold and then the whole painting was sold. But these are like initial applications of the space. I'm sure like once artists really put their heads into understanding the technology better and maybe even team up with people who understand the technology better, there could be multiple imaginative iterations of the NFT space. So that's what I would answer to this question. So NFTs do bring a lot of creative value, yeah, but it's untapped at the moment is what I think. But go on, Omer, sorry.
I think it was very difficult for a lot of artists to understand this NFT phenomena. I've convinced a lot of people. It's a new technology. Nice. You can also read and I can also help you to understand something. So, but still, they're in between. What is going to be? So, the curiosity is still there.
Yeah, I think that also answers somebody else's question because they were asking, to what extent is Pakistan ready for NFT being the future of art? If you want to just add on to what you were just saying.
I think Pakistan is as ready as any other place. It's a matter of the artist producing an NFT. I mean, it's not, Pakistan is in no way any backward digitally than in any other country. Now it's a global space, right? And there are digital cheetahs all over the place, right? So like India, Pakistan also exports a lot of sort of tech people all over the world. So, I mean, simple answer is as ready as any place else.
Great. I think we're almost done. Let me see if there are any more. Just a second. All right. Oh, all right. So sorry, we actually have a few more questions, I think. No, that was just somebody answering the question on top. Oh, that was Natasha. Okay. What is the question? I think the last question can be, how do galleries decide to utilize their funds, as in what is the process? Omer, do you want to answer this?
I'm not very clear. What did they say?
It's how do galleries decide to utilize their funds, as in what is the process?
How do galleries decide to utilize it? Well, it's a very personal decision for the gallery, to be honest.
All right.
It's the gallery's fund. They can choose to do whatever they like. But yes, they oftentimes invest in things like, they actually choose to save some of that fund, some of those funds in order to be able to show in like places like Art Dubai or, the Bangladesh Art Fair, etc., or they also make occasional catalogs for artists. And also sometimes house residencies. So yes, I mean, while it's the gallery's funds, they choose to do anything, but they do invest some of that or a lot of that on the artists as well. Yes.
Sure.
Even the scholarships, a lot of galleries are providing scholarships. They were giving scholarships to a lot of students.
So I hope you have your answer, user. And I think I just want to add to when I was talking about the creative value of NFTs, but one thing about them is that ownership and tracking of the work is really easy. So I think that's another key thing for many artists besides the royalties and subsequent sales. So
one thing I'd like to add, I want to compliment the UpsideSpace. So a lot of people I know, for instance, who haven't delved into NFTs purely for the reason that they're not into Bitcoins, etc., into that currency. And I think what's brilliant about the UpsideSpace is that they're making it so much easier for the average collector to buy because they can buy through their credit card, etc. So I think that is a great thing that the UpsideSpace is doing, which is normally not the practice.
True. We're really trying to sort of break through many firsts in the space, especially in the regions that we've chosen, which is South Asia, Southeast Asia, and the Middle East. But also, I think, given the context of the conversation that are happening around NFTs these days, it is very important to distinguish between collecting assets or collectibles as NFT or collecting art as NFT, which is a complete distinction. And especially in the UpsideSpace, Omer, with your curation or other curators that are on board, they're really trying to tell a story and bring on these artists with various practices into the NFT space for the first time ever. So I think that's something that we're all excited to see. But yeah, besides that, I don't really have any other questions. If you both have any closing comments, we'll do that, and then we will close the session for the day.
Thank you for having me, us, and we wish the UpsideSpace all the best.
Oh, thank you so much, Omer.
Thank you very much. You have made our life easier because it was technically so difficult for an artist to create NFT, and you have taken that part. So your life is easier now.
Great, that's amazing to hear. Thank you so much, Naeem and Omer. You both have been amazing guests. We had a lot of fun, and I hope the audience had something to take away from this session as well. Do tune in for more lives. We have them every week. We also have Twitter Spaces, so follow the UpsideSpace on Instagram, Twitter. And yeah, keep in touch for the upcoming expo will come up very soon. Thank you all. Thank you both to our speakers again, and have a good night. I will end the session now.
All the best. All the best. Cheers.
Bye. Bye.